You want me to kick it open?
I can hear. I think he's in the house.
Someone's screaming in there. Okay.
I got you. Go.
Okay.
Yeah, she's yelling help. I got it. I got it. Fuck. Hey, we're police! Hey, we're police! Hey, come back! Come back! Come back!
Get back! With you! With you!
Stay right here, sir. Stay right here. Stay right here. Hey, show me your fucking hands!
Hey, he's going through the backyard. He's hopping the fence.
Gray beanie, blue jacket, about 6 foot tall.
Screams pierced the silence of the night, echoing from the small house in Arlington, Texas. The terrified children saw a sight no child should ever see. Their mother, dressed only in her underwear, dragged out the door by the man they once called stepfather. He was cold, his hand clutching a gun, his eyes filled with violence. Just a few hours later, at dawn, he returned, alone. He woke the children, made breakfast, and drove them to school, as if the night before had never happened. But the children knew, they saw. They understood that their beloved mother would never return. And then, a few days later, her half-naked body was found in a field, left in the cold, as if her life were worthless. The question is, how could a man hide his true face to such a brutal extent? To understand the tragedy, we have to go back in time. Before Tataria Maguire appeared on the news as a victim of violence, she was simply a mother, a daughter, a woman longing for a peaceful home. At 32, Tataria had raised 4 children with determination and endless love. 3 lively, energetic sons kept the house bustling, and then the birth of her youngest daughter made the family complete in her eyes. Her friends affectionately called her Boy Mom, a woman who was associated with the world of boys, with sneakers, loud laughter, and dusty afternoons. But when her daughter arrived, it was like the cherry on top of the cake, fulfilling her dream of motherhood. Tataria was not the type of woman whose fate was paved with roses. Her life has been filled with challenges, from failed love affairs to days struggling with the burden of being a single mother. However, instead of falling down, she chose to stand up. She worked, she raised her children, she relied on her faith to move forward. Relatives said that every morning she called her mother Patrice. That call was not just a habit, but a bond, a way for mother and daughter to cling to each other, to overcome difficulties. For Patrice, Tataria was not only her daughter, but also her best friend, her support. And Patrice believed that, after all the storms, her daughter deserved a new love, a kind man. In 2020, on Facebook, Tataria wrote about a broken relationship. She admitted that she tried desperately to hold on, prayed, shed tears, but then realized that she had to choose herself and her children. "No man can drag me down this low again," she wrote. It was a powerful declaration, a vow of freedom. But it was also in her desire to find love that she met Lear and Tilly. At first, Tilly appeared like a dream. Tall, well-spoken, confident. He quickly entered Tataria's life as if he had always belonged there. On social media, Tilly built an image of a model man. Photos of the whole family making Taco Tuesday together in the kitchen. Videos of holding the little girl's hand in a father-daughter dance, or pooling money to buy a new car, all created the illusion of an ideal home. For a woman who craved stability, Tataria believed this was the answer to her prayers. But behind the smiles and the sparkling photos, there was a storm. Tataria's family and friends noticed it early on. They saw the temper, the control, the clear warning signs. They advised her to be careful, to back off. But Tataria, with the belief that love can change people, still persisted. She wanted to believe that with enough patience, enough sacrifice, Tilly would become the kind man he pretended to be in front of the world. Later, people learned that those sweet words were just a mask. When the door closed, Tilly turned into someone else. He vented his anger with harsh words, then moved on to physical violence. The children witnessed it all. They heard the screams, the slamming of doors, and the muffled cries of their mother. A childhood that should have been associated with innocent memories was stained with fear. After each time like that, Tilly returned with apologies, bouquets of flowers, promises of changing. But then the cycle continued. Love, abuse, apology, then abuse again. By the end of 2024, Tataria began to show signs of wanting to let go. On the surface, social media was still filled with happy birthday photos, statuses thanking Tilly for keeping her. But deep down, she knew she had had enough. She began telling friends and family about leaving him. The bruises, the insults, the suffocating control. She didn't want her children to see it anymore. For her, freedom wasn't just about saving herself. It was about letting her children grow up in peace. But it was when a woman decided to leave that it was the most dangerous moment. Tilly couldn't accept the fact that she was leaving. For him, losing Tataria wasn't just about losing a relationship. It was also a blow to his endlessly inflated ego. He carried a gun as a constant threat, as a way to affirm that his power came from fear. And then, on the night of the 2nd of December, 2024, that fear turned into tragedy. That night, the 4 children witnessed the most terrifying moment of their lives. Tilly dragged their mother out in her underwear, ignoring the screams that echoed. The scene was seared into their young minds, an indelible mental scar. A few hours later, he returned, acting as if nothing had happened, waking the children, preparing food, taking them to school. His calmness was not only creepy, but also a testament to a man accustomed to living a double life. The next morning, when she didn't receive her daughter's usual call, Patrice knew something was wrong. The silence was like a death knell. She called the police, and the family searched, but all they found was a dark void. And then, 3 days later, a lawnmower found her half-naked body in a field in Fort Worth. The news spread, and the community was shocked. The woman who had dreamed of a peaceful home was abandoned in the cold, and the first person people suspected, of course, was Lear and Tilly. But the question is, why? After all those signs, all those warnings from family, friends, and even herself, did Tataria still choose to stay? Can true love really be that blind? Or is our society not strong enough to protect women like her when they need it most? As news of Tataria's disappearance began to spread, the atmosphere in her family was filled with anxiety. Relatives, friends, and neighbors all knew. This was not the kind of woman who would leave without a word. She was so attached to her 4 children that nothing could make her disappear quietly. Every day, she called her mother, texted her best friends, and, most importantly, she never left home without making sure her children were taken care of. But now, no one could reach her. Phones went silent. Text messages were missed. It was at that moment that everyone knew. Something terrible had happened. Tataria's mother, Patrice, was the first to take to social media to ask for help. She posted a photo of her daughter with a tearful plea, This is my oldest daughter. She has been missing since Monday night. Please help me. If anyone has seen her or has any information, please contact Arlington Police immediately. Within hours, the status was shared hundreds of times, but in her heart, the small hope was soon overwhelmed by a shadow of fear. Because Patrice knew well the conflicts between her daughter and Liren Tilly, the man she once trusted, Arlington Police immediately began investigating. The first person they went to was Tilly. When asked, he calmly said that the last time he saw Tataria was that night when he dropped her off at home. The next morning, he returned to take the children to school, but she was no longer there. The answer sounded reasonable, but it was full of contradictions, because the children, innocent witnesses, told a completely different story. They remembered the moment their mother was taken away. They cried and begged, but could only watch in fear. And then, the next morning, he returned, coldly lying that their mother was at her grandmother's house. For the police, this statement was a big boost. Children may be innocent, but they cannot fabricate such a horrific memory. During the investigation, the police discovered more pieces of the puzzle. Surveillance cameras recorded Tilly's Chevrolet Tahoe driving toward Fort Worth the night Tataria disappeared. He did not go to Irving as he had said, but straight to the vacant lot along the Greenbelt Road, the very place where her body was found a few days later. Tataria's death, therefore, was no longer a mystery. It became a clear indictment against him. But before everything was clear, the Tataria family was still living in a persistent nightmare. In the early days of the search, everyone prayed that she was just hiding somewhere. Maybe for some reason she could not be contacted. Patrice wrote a trembling prayer. God, please protect my daughter. Please bring her back safely. Please don't let her child lose her mother. It was a fragile hope, but also the only rope that helped her stand firm during the long days of waiting. Then, on the morning of the 5th of December, 2024, the fateful phone call came. A lawnmower had found the half-naked body of a woman in a field. The police quickly identified her as Tataria. The news tore the family apart. Patrice collapsed, crying until she was exhausted. The 4 children, their innocent eyes, had to hear that their mother would never return. It didn't take long for the police to consolidate their evidence. In addition to the children's statements and the surveillance camera, they also found a shopping receipt near the scene, clearly dated the 2nd of December, the exact time Tataria was taken. All traces pointed straight to Liren Tilly. He had a clear motive: control. He knew she was about to leave him, and instead of accepting the truth, he chose to keep her with violence, then ended her life when his obsession with power had no way out. When the police arrived to arrest him, Tilly remained calm. He even pretended not to understand why he was handcuffed. Facing the camera, he did not cry, did not tremble. There was only a blank expression on his face, a cold indifference. But all the lies had collapsed, and now he had to face the punishment of the law. However, for the Tataria family, justice cannot ease the loss, because how can a sentence, no matter how severe, replace the embrace of a mother? How can a conviction make up for the childhood stolen from 4 children? The house that once filled with laughter is now filled with painful silence. Friends and relatives of Tataria shared beautiful memories of her on social media. They mentioned her bright smile, the strength she showed throughout her life. They talked about how she always saw opportunity in adversity, always found a way to get up after every fall. And they insisted, She was more than just a victim. She was a warrior, a loving mother, a woman who deserved to live a full life. The case quickly shocked Texas. It was not only a family tragedy, but also a bitter reminder of the reality that domestic violence is still silently destroying thousands of homes. Experts say that the most dangerous time for victims of violence is not when they endure, but when they decide to leave. It is this moment that often makes the abuser most aggressive, ready to commit irreparable acts, and Tataria's tragedy is a heartbreaking testament to that truth. Behind the social media glitz, the happy family videos, the cozy evenings, lies a stark truth. The man Tataria trusted was the one who buried her life. The question is how many other women are living in similar situations, silently suffering behind closed doors, believing that love can change violence. And if even with clear signs, warnings from relatives, Tataria was brutally murdered, is society doing enough to protect them? The police began piecing together the details of Lil Nuke's case, and what haunted them most was the gap between when he left the studio and when his body was found. A deadly silence, where all clues seemed to be swallowed up in the darkness. Nuke's close friends said that after the recording session that day, he received several mysterious calls. No one knew who Nuke was talking to, but his tone became unusual. Tense, brief, and sometimes even a little shaky. Was it someone he knew, or was it a trap setup? The police traced the phone data, and the first name that appeared was an old friend who grew up with Nuke in the neighborhood. He had been close to him, but because of his sinful ways, the two gradually drifted apart. When questioned, he just shook his head. I had nothing to do with it. We haven't spoken in months. But was it true? Or was it just a hasty denial? In parallel, the online community began to explode, with countless theories. Fans dug up Lil Nuke's final raps, claiming that they were more than just music. They included lines about betrayal, about being hunted, and about death is near. Did Nuke predict his own fate? On social media, a video went viral. It was a scene of Nuke performing at a small concert just a few weeks before his death. In the dim light, he stopped mid-sentence, looked down at the audience, and exclaimed, "If one day I'm no longer standing on this stage, remember that I left my heart in every melody." Those words, listening to them now, sounded like a last wish. However, in the midst of that storm of emotions, a chilling detail appeared. Security cameras from a street near where the body was found captured images of a car slowing down, stopping, and then speeding away. The license plate was obscured, but the driver seemed familiar, someone who had once belonged to Nuke's inner circle. And this is when suspicions began to turn to the people he had trusted the most. While the police were busy investigating, Lil Nuke's family suffered the ultimate pain. His mother, who had always sat backstage at her son's small shows, now sat silently in front of the empty house, hugging the last hoodie Nuke wore. She said through tears, "He just wanted to sing, just wanted to get out of this neighborhood. Why did he have to leave like this?" That question, not only from a mother, but also the cry of an entire community that had placed their hopes in Lil Nuke. Against that background of grief, another story was blown up: jealousy in the underground scene. When a young talent rises so quickly, not everyone is happy. There are other rappers who feel threatened, and there are those in the shadows who find Nuke's success a thorn in their side. And in that world of traps, the line between music and violence can sometimes be as thin as a thread. The police announced that they found traces of a fight before Nuke died. His body had bruises, indicating that there had been a fight. But why didn't anyone hear anything? Why didn't any witnesses come forward? Was the silence due to fear, or was it all covered up too cleverly? In the following days, the press reported the news loudly. The newspapers had headlines. Rising star falls in the middle of the night. Lil Nuke. Light extinguished in the darkness. The more news was reported, the more unanswered questions were raised. Each article was like a knife piercing the hearts of Nuke's family and friends, but at the same time it was also a pressure on the police to find answers. Fans did not stand still. They held candlelight vigils, built a giant graffiti wall with a picture of Lil Nuke smiling brightly, above which was written, "Your last song will never die." At that moment, Nuke was no longer just a young rapper, but a symbol of unfulfilled dreams. However, just when everything seemed to be filled with pain and regret, a new detail turned the case in a different direction. An anonymous witness called the police, claiming to have seen Nuke arguing fiercely with a man on that fateful night. The man was wearing a hood, but his voice was so familiar that it sent a chill down the witness's spine. "I can't be 100% sure, but I believe it was one of the people who used to go with Nuke." If that was true, then the person behind this tragedy was not a stranger, but someone in his circle of trust. And the scariest question arose: was it his success that drew Nuke into a trap set by someone close to him? While the public was still confused, the police suddenly expanded the scope of the investigation to include Nuke's musical rivals. Several other rappers were called in for questioning. They denied everything, but their eyes, gestures, and tension made many people suspicious. One even said, "In this industry, sometimes you don't need to point a gun. Just spreading a rumor is enough to make someone disappear." The story became more and more complicated, like an unfinished rap with countless unexpected breaks. People wondered, who was really a friend? Who was an enemy? And in the end, who took away that hopeful voice? In the darkness, Lil Nuke's last words still echoed, "I'll sing until I can't breathe." Was it fate, or a prophecy written into his short life? The courtroom was packed. The audience seats were full. The press was jostling. And in the hallway, the crowd was still patiently waiting just to hear the verdict. The air was thick, as tense as a string waiting to be released. All eyes were on the wooden platform where the perpetrator sat, his face expressionless, his eyes cold, without a trace of remorse. Meanwhile, Lil Nuke's family sat opposite. His mother hugged her son's photo tightly to her chest, her eyes red from crying, but she still tried to keep herself standing. Relatives, friends, and even loyal fans were also present. They wanted to witness the moment of justice speaking, wanted to hear the answers to the questions that never ceased. Why? Why did a young singer, a young man with great potential, have to lie down before he could even finish writing the song of his life? The judge raised his voice, each word echoing throughout the room. The verdict was announced. The highest penalty for the person who took Lil Nuke's life. A sigh of relief broke out. Many people shed tears, but in that moment, no one really felt relieved. Because even if justice came, Lil Nuke still could not return. Outside the courtroom, a memorial night was held. Hundreds of candles lit up the street where Lil Nuke grew up. Friends held microphones, taking turns reciting the lyrics of his songs. When the melody rang out, the whole crowd sang along, immersing themselves in the last song that Lil Nuke left behind. Those sounds were like a continuous flow, bringing back memories of him. Vivid, close, as if Nuke was still standing there, his smile shining under the street lights. Someone said, "Music is immortal." And for Lil Nuke, that has never been more true. The songs he wrote, though only in their infancy, have now become a voice for a life cut short. People listen to his music not just for the melody, but because behind it is the pain, the hope, the story of a young soul that has not yet matured. Lil Nuke's death is not only a loss for his family or friends, but also a wake-up call for the community. It makes people ask a series of questions. Why does violence easily erupt over a small conflict? Why can talent, passion, and dreams be extinguished in such a meaningless moment? And more importantly, are we doing enough to protect young souls like Nuke before it's too late? His family then established a foundation named Lil Nuke. This foundation supports young artists, giving them a safe place to pursue their passion for music without fear of being dragged into the vortex of violence. Many say that is Nuke's greatest legacy, not just his lyrics, but his belief that dreams need to be protected, that youth is worth more than any conflict. A year after his death, the whole city gathered. On the outdoor stage, they played Lil Nuke's unreleased recording. His voice rang out, trembling but full of emotion, causing the entire audience to fall silent. Everyone closed their eyes, letting each word sink into their hearts. And then, when the song ended, the sky suddenly lit up with fireworks. People believed that somewhere, Lil Nuke was smiling, listening to everything. His death was a wound, but his music was a balm. It proved that, even when a person is gone, their voice can still exist, echoing forever in the hearts of those who stay. So the ultimate question for us is, what will we leave behind after we step out of this world? A meaningless silence, or an everlasting melody like Lil Nuke did? Late at night, the street where Lil Nuke used to live was quiet. Occasionally, the wind blew through old billboards or the sound of tires rolling on the rough pavement, but all became small compared to the silence. It was here, a year ago, that screams, hurried footsteps, and police sirens had torn the night. That image still haunts many people, and for Nuke's family, it has never faded. The mother still keeps the habit of lighting a candle by the window every night. She says it is a way to guide her son back home, even though she knows he will never return. But that fire is not only for Nuke, it is also a reminder for the whole neighborhood. How fragile life is, how one wrong decision can take away an entire future. The community where Nuke grew up began to change after the incident. Community meetings took place more often, and programs for youth were invested heavily. People don't want to see another Lil Nuke go in vain. Some young people who once stood on the line between music and violence have now chosen to embark on the path that Nuke once dreamed of. They believe that by continuing to sing, they are keeping his dream alive. Meanwhile, Nuke's music began to spread beyond the city's borders. His unreleased songs were edited by family and friends and posted online. Surprisingly, those melodies were listened to by millions. Comments poured in from all over, many confessing that they found empathy in the lyrics of a young man who had gone too soon. "He seemed to be singing for me," wrote one viewer. "His music saved me from feeling lonely," shared another. Just like that, Lil Nuke, though no longer alive, continued to touch the hearts of thousands of strangers. And perhaps that is the most miraculous thing. A voice that no longer exists in reality, but still exists in every listening ear. However, every time the melody plays, Nuke's family is immersed in anguish. The mother once said in an interview, "I am happy that my son's music is loved. But I am also in pain, because each song is a reminder that my son is no longer here to sing. It is a feeling torn between loss and pride, a feeling that cannot be fully described." On the second anniversary of Lil Nuke's death, a large concert was held right in his hometown. Thousands of people gathered. The stage lights were bright, but the main stage had no singer standing in the center. Instead, the big screen showed rare videos of Nuke when he was alive. He sat in a cramped studio, eyes closed to the beat, smiling brightly when he finished a song, and then his voice rang out, blending with the live orchestra. The audience applauded with tears in their eyes. Many mumbled along to each word, as if they were talking to a spirit somewhere. That moment was no longer a simple concert, but a ritual. A ritual to remember, to connect, to keep Lil Nuke alive in memory. After the performance, a journalist asked his mother what she wanted the audience to remember about her son. She hesitated for a moment, then answered, "Don't remember him for the way he died. Remember him for the way he lived, for the music he left behind. Because that's what my son wanted most. For people to sing with him, not cry for him." Those words made the whole hall quiet. And perhaps that was the final message of this story. Lil Nuke is gone, but his voice has never been silent. It echoed from the old houses, through the headphones of those who never met him, and burned brightly in the hearts of those who knew him. So, the story of Lil Nuke is not just a tragedy of an unjust death. It is also a testament to the power of music, to the belief that even though life is short, a human voice can still live on, if it is entrusted to true melodies. And now, when you listen to his last song, ask yourself, what will we leave behind for this world? A silent void, or a song that people will sing forever, even when we are far away?